Somewhere else, the main strike team is making their way through the ruin. A mage in the party finds something strange after using his detection skills. A massive golem appears in front of them, with a mysterious figure riding on top of it. Upon closer inspection, Chanhua realizes he is a vampire elder. As he steps down, he greets them and introduces himself as Bellis. He is one of the blood relatives of the original vampire and the master of this ruin. The party immediately draws their sword toward Bellis, asking what he wants, coming to them alone for no reason. Notices Chanhua is the leader. Bellis talks to him, explaining that he came in order to make an offer. Lifting his finger toward the tip of Chanhua's sword, he asks them to follow him. As blood drips shed from his finger, he casts Bloodfest skill. The wraps around the legs of the party members, lifting them into the air effortlessly. On the other hand, fear envelopes Chanhua's mind, making him unable to do anything as the magic Bellis crushes the party members right before his eyes. Being ecstatic with the prey who offer themselves, Bellis casts another magic, going to devour half of them and drag the rest with him. Yuziang sticks around in the ruin while Kinhyuk enjoying his harvest with Teresa. It is Frozen Tear. Using this item allows Kinhyuk to get more stats after absorbing it. With Teresa's help in the process of absorbing the item, Kinhyuk was swiftly able to increase his stats without any drawback considering the difficulty. Thanking her for her efforts, Kinhyuk feels satisfied that normally getting the two extremely overpowered items, the Frozen Tear along with Demon Spirit Marble, would take a long time. Out of nowhere, Teresa receives a notification stating if she wants to save the member of the strike team, she needs to come to the innermost room. Horror descends over her mind, knowing the strike team she must protect has been kidnapped. At that moment, Kinhyuk notices something has happened to her, and she convinces herself to at the very least save even a single member. In the end, she still feels that her strength is not enough to deal with an original vampire. She knows well that without a strike team, she won't stand a chance against an original vampire. She falls into an uncertainty, thinking she should have stayed with the strike team and things would not go this bad. All she wishes for, becoming a knight, is to protect more people. Yuziang claims he has nothing to do with them, so he intends to not be helping and leave them be. As he leaves, he informs Teresa about one thing he is extremely sure of. Kinhyuk, a guy who is so selfish and doesn't have a speck of honor, is also the reason Yuziang loathes him so much. But one thing he can be sure of is that Kinhyuk is the only person in the world right at this point who can take down an original vampire on his own. Teresa smiles. Her mind springs up with an idea after receiving such important advice. Right after, she approaches Kinhyuk requesting a party contract. He claims that his price wouldn't be cheap, asking whether she can afford him. But Teresa explicitly trusts him and would give as many coins as she can give in order for him to help. Looking at how Teresa might still be going even without him, he decides to form the party and bankrupt her. Before long, they arrive at the entrance to the boss's room. The amount of magic being released is unreal. Even a high-level knight like Teresa trembles before it. Kinhyuk comforts her, saying she shouldn't be afraid because she should have understood that their opponent inside will be extremely strong, as well as giving her advice that in battle, it's not always the strongest who wins. His plan in this raid is only one, telling Teresa no matter what happens inside, she must not lose her trust in him. Inside the boss's chamber, she comfortably sits on her chair as the two invited players enter, surrounded by a bunch of vampires. Among them, Bellis finished massacring half of the strike team and abducted the rest. The original vampire, Alice Fawn Ataraxia, greets them with an expression of boredom and aloofness in her eyes. Meeting her gaze, Kinhyuk asks whether the strike team that has been abducted is safe. In kind, Alice tells him to see for himself. With a snap of her finger, she deactivated the dimension severance, revealing all the party members tied and had their mouths and eyes covered. Kinhyuk uses the Eye of Truth on them, noticing Park Hajin. Seeing him here, he knows that Hajin is the one who wakes up the Guardians. Right after, Alice reveals her reasons for inviting them here. It's because, somehow, Kinhyuk smells sweeter than any scent she has ever smelled. With her naughty smile, She tells him that his sweet scent, incomparable to that of other humans, has piqued her interest. This extremely disgusts Kinhyuk. For all he knows, this instance has never happened before. Alice notices how disturbed he is, while Kinhyuk can only plead that everyone will if a vampire were after their blood. She tells him not to worry, as she is planning to savor him slowly and allow him to live at least 60 years. Kinhyuk refuses the offer, claiming he doesn't want to live as a glorified luxury juice box. That instant, a magic bullet grazed him on the cheek. It was Alice, expressing she didn't ask for his opinion and he had no choice in the matter. Kinhyuk bows to her, saying that he is not saying that he won't give her anything. As he kneels, he offers her something sweeter than his blood. Alice is doubtful of Kinhyuk's words, as she knows it. There is nothing more precious to a vampire than blood. Emphasize that Alice won't change her mind no matter what he offers. Only then does Kinhyuk reveal that she should really think it over, because what he offers is her freedom. That instant, the other vampires raged in anger toward Kinhyuk for daring to utter such words as they summoned their swords and cast their magic. With a wave of Alice's hand, they freeze in place, not daring to move. Intrigued, Alice stands up, asking Kinhyuk to take responsibility for what he just said. Still kneeling on the floor, Kinhyuk claims he wouldn't come there in the first place if he can't deliver. Summoning a mysterious mask, Kinhyuk, as the representative of the demonic ones in the tower, pledges that he will free her from this place. Demonic human refers to those who have turned their backs on humanity for money, revenge, or personal beliefs. The demonic ones interfere with players ascending the tower and even join forces with monsters in labyrinths and ruins. That interests Alice, as she has heard about them before, so she asks him whether Kinhyuk is one of them. As Kinhyuk claims he already got in touch with the temple on the 27th floor, revealing they are the ones that tell him Alicia is here and how to fool the barrier encasing the ruins. Teresa is confused as to why Kinhyuk pretending to be a demonic human, in addition to the fact that he mentions the temple to be shaken them this much. With the mention of the temple, Alice seems to believe what he has said. But, as she summons her blood magic, she expresses her disappointment at the fact that every single one who claims to give her freedom has failed for a long time. As blood spears hover behind her, she commends how sweet of a talker Kinhyuk is. Right after, without even giving a second thought, Alice sends her spears toward him. On the other hand, Kinhyuk only stays in his place, knowing a bunch of blood spears going for his head. That instant, Teresa comes right in front of him, as she uses her divine reinforcement skill. The moment the skill is deployed, a barrier of divine light descends upon them. The first wave of the blood spears shattered as they met the divine barrier. Teresa also screamed towards Kinhyuk to stay behind her, casting her divine shield in addition to her defense, and putting all of her strength. She was fortunately able to block all the incoming barrage of attack. Alice is laughing as she watches how Teresa struggles against a fraction of her power, only to turn back and full of bloodthirst for Teresa, as she expresses how divine power disgusts her. Promises to eradicate both Teresa and Kinhyuk without a trace. Alice summons an orb of blood magic. Teresa wouldn't last long against an attack like that, but she smiles because she knows well that the person behind her, the person she trusts the most, has her back. Little did she know, a dagger goes straight through her chest from behind. It was Kinhyuk who literally stabbed her from the back. All of her power left her body, and all she could do was cough up blood in disbelief. Alice is surprised to see the betrayal, and that is how Kinhyuk intends to prove to her that he is not just all talk. She cancels her blood magic orb that instant in amusement, as she asks him to go ahead. With the little power she has, Teresa grabs Kinhyuk's leg, demanding him to keep his promise to save the strike team, still unable to believe that this is his plan all along. Unfazed, Kinhyuk raises his dagger and finishes her life in cold blood. Alice laughs once more, feeling extremely pleased for a human to do that before giving Kinhyuk a chance to do what he said he would. Showing her the Braham's ring, he claims that he prepared a 7-star spell in it. If he seals her soul inside the ring, he will be able to temporarily fool the ruins barrier. Alice feels hesitant since this is the first time she has heard of such a method. This was why Kin-hyuk gave up on gaining any experience points and maintained his level at 1 ever since he entered the Tower Trials. The 7-star skill, called Soul Transfer, can't be used unless he is level 1. Meeting the requirement needed, he immediately cast the magic. The last thing he needs to do is for Alice to accept. After a minute, the magic circle will disappear forever. What's left is her decision whether to accept or not. Transmitting her words toward her subject, she reveals that she can't trust Kin-hyuk completely. So she wants Bellis to kill him and destroy the seal if he tries anything funny. As she already has a backup plan she made with Bellis, Alice walks down the stairs. She is not entirely willing to consent to a spell she has never seen before, but she has been confined for far too long. It's been well over 1,000 years since she was exiled there, so she must take this chance, or she may never escape from this underground place. With that in mind, she accepts the spell as Kin-hyuk pleads to her that he will make sure she doesn't regret it. The moment she finished her consent in the agreement, her physical body and soul dissipated from the tower toward the space inside the ring. Surprisingly, she finds comfort inside the space as Kin-hyuk feels glad that she likes her new home. The fact that he is calling the space inside the ring home is confusing her. Before Teresa stands up, in kind Kin-hyuk welcomes her back. It was her skill, Blessing of Stars, which allowed her to revive with a cooldown of 240 hours. She smiles toward him, while Alice is raging inside the ring, saying how dare he trifle with her like that. That instant, Alice commands Bellis and her subject to kill Kin-hyuk. As he summons his dagger, Teresa expresses the need to postpone a lot of questions for later, because they will likely be busy for a while, facing all of these vampires. The moment Bellis receives his order, he prepares his magic. He is asking whether they will make it out alive after betraying his master. He casts Blood Wave, enveloping both sides of the room, going to devour both of them, and Kin-hyuk casts his fire magic in return. He set ablaze the fire in his hand toward the floor, burning the surrounding blood magic the moment it came in contact with the fire. After countering the AoE blood magic, Kin-hyuk tells Teresa to free the hostage. Using her sign of the cross, she easily slices the magic rope, freeing the Tide Strike team members. Seeing her, Chanhwa feels glad that she decided to come before he asks about the vampire. In return, she tells him that the man wearing a mask, Kin-hyuk, will take them all alone. On the other hand, Bellis is confused with how a mere human blocked his magic easily like that. That is when Kin-hyuk tells him that their magic is completely opposite before he adds that all the vampires here are lost the moment their master is sealed in the ring. With Grave of Sword, Kin-hyuk will battle Bellis, who is also capable of using a melee skill called Dark Battle, accompanied by the whole army of vampires in the ruin behind him. Sometimes later, Chanhwa asks who the masked man is, because he can't believe the masked man finishes all the vampires by himself, leaving corpses scattered around. Teresa knows that Kin-hyuk wears a mask to hide his identity, so she only tells Chanhwa that he met the masked man earlier, as she also claims not to know him. Kin-hyuk walks toward the goofball waifu, as she expresses how she never thought the first time she would be dying would be at the hand of an ally. In return, he delivers success in the end. She shed tears for the joy of the fact they were able to save all the strike team that were abducted, the fallen, and the pain she has to endure being stabbed is as real as it can be. She thanks Kin-hyuk for it, and at the same time, the copy condition has been fulfilled. For it, Kin-hyuk receives the Blessing of Stars, which allows him to revive after death. Right after, he asks her why is she crying, but she fails to explain herself. In return, she asks whether Kin-hyuk knows she will come back to life, where Kin-hyuk turns away and refuses to explain himself. Next up is to harvest the reward from finishing the ruin to take the relics before getting out of this place. Chanhwa suddenly butts in, saying that all the items collected in this raid are for Guild Balhi. Kin-hyuk threatens him with his sheer aura, saying how come that comes to it since he saves all the strike teams alone. Chanhwa tries to negotiate, as they will be paying him in cash or coins in return for his service. This makes Kin-hyuk loathe him, knowing how weak this leader is and to still dare to push people around. In the end, Kin-hyuk yields the loot, letting Chanhwa take them. Before he warns this wuss to not regret whatever happens afterward, which only confuses Chanhwa. Greed lit up in his heart, because after the whole strike team was taken hostage, he could bring relics back to the guild. Unfortunately for him, the moment he touches it, a jolt of light strikes his hand. It is a curse, while the relic is good. Kinhyuk knows that there is an annoying curse on it. Originally, one should be able to take it if Alice is dead, but since she is alive inside the ring, the curse is activated. Teresa covers her mouth in shock at what happened to Chanhua, so Kinhyuk takes her out of the ruin. Meanwhile, outside the tower, the reporter and the association's personnel are gathering around. Among them is Kim Tae-chun. The department manager wants to see this thing through. Apparently, Yuzeong leaked the possibility of the ruin to be cleared soon. Even though Yuzeong was not a part of the guild, Tae-chun still believed in his words. Before long, the notification appears, telling them that the ruins, corridor of the corrupt, have been cleared. The strike team members from Guild Balhi come out first, and the reporters start barraging them with questions such as who is the MVP, and some congratulate them. The leader of the strike team finally comes out, with a new shiny bald head. He is not only losing his hair, but also his eyebrows and eyelashes, and seems to have no soul left in his eyes. Everyone can only wonder what happened inside, filling their mind with surprise and questions rather than a sense of achievement. Teresa comes out and starts shedding light on their question. She explains that Chanhua is not the one who cleared the ruin, making the reporters assume that Zion Guild is the one that succeeded. Only for another surprise welcomes them, as she tells them that the one who clears the ruin is the mysterious man walking beside her. After learning that a single player is able to clear the ruin, Tae-chun tells his assistant to inform the association immediately, while Hazing is angry with the masked man who saves the day. But in his mind, this masked man has ruined his plan to deal with Kinhyuk inside the ruin. Rumors start going wild, and people around the world keep wondering who the masked man is. Kinhyuk is chilling in his flat, thinking that wearing the mask was the best decision of his life because of how crazy people are about him. Fortunately, even though Teresa knows about his identity, she promises to keep it a secret, so there is nothing he really needs to worry about. The next thing he needs to do is to deal with the grumpy, original vampire, Alice. She is throwing a tantrum about how Kinhyuk dares to trick her and speaks to her that way. In kind, he spins the ring around, messing up the dimension, while Alice immediately starts begging him to stop. So Kinhyuk asks whether she come to her senses of her predicament now, but she keeps her pride up, explaining that vampires never let go of their grudges. Knowing her pride is still intact, Kinhyuk does the hazing again and keeps spinning the ring around. A whole 3 hours later, she is finally done, as she cries for pity and begs him to stop. Infusing the Braham's ring with magic, he commands her to come out. The moment she is out, rage and bloodthirst fill her mind, and as she crackles her finger, she expresses her intention to return the humiliation toward Kinhyuk, only to realize that her summoned body is tiny because Kinhyuk left the seal intact and only let a part of her materialize, meaning she is the mini version of Alice and can only exert about 1% of her original power. Even with these precautions, she is still way more powerful than a regular vampire. The moment she realizes that, she sinks on the floor, crying her eyes out. Trying to assure her, Kinhyuk tells her that he will keep his promises to give her freedom, a deal that Kinhyuk and Alice Fawn Ataraxia made. He will get rid of the ones who betrayed her and help her reclaim her spot as the head of the Ataraxia family. Meanwhile, the video of the boss raid of the ruin has been uploaded to the Hall of Fame. Everyone thought the raid would fail, but the situation was completely reversed by the appearance of a masked man. The people see how his magic and sword skills are totally overpowered. There are some who wonder why he hasn't been seen on the third floor boss. What for sure is he is going around collecting waifus. Finishes dealing with Alicia, Kinhyuk goes for a building owned by the Black Crow Guild. Putting up his mask, he doesn't care whether or not big guilds are corrupt or monopolize the game. What's important to him is what is owed to him, because he will not let the attempt to kill him slide. He smacks the door of the building open. Dozens of guards are lining up for a beating. As Kinhyuk summons his fire, he understands very well that people like Hajin and the ones backing him need to be destroyed. On the top floor of the building, Shin Jiansu, the guild master of the Black Crow, is punishing Hajin. He is mad over the fact that Hazing dared to come back to the guild after he failed to deal with Kinhyuk waking up the Guardians and bringing humiliation to the guild. He kicks Hazing around as a knock can be heard from the door. It was Kinhyuk reaching the room, who didn't even bother to wait for the answer and blasted it open instead. Jiansa screams, telling his underling to get rid of the intruder, while Hazing is upside down and crashes into the wall. In an instant, Hazing gets his bearing and immediately gets ready to launch an attack on the masked man. He goes for it, intending to get on the leader's good grace and to shine as the super rookie once more as Kinhyuk takes off his mask. Right after, Kinhyuk throws him a kick, sending him crashing to the shelf. Jiansa starts screaming toward Kinhyuk again for humiliating the Black Crow Guild in front of the association in addition to disturbing them right now as he promises that Kinhyuk will not get out here in one piece. In return, Kinhyuk sits down leisurely, claiming the guild leader doesn't need to worry about his well-being. Seeing an opening, Jiansa lunges to his katana, unsheaths it, and jumps on the table in a swift motion. Casting his sword skill, the fleeting sword that faster than the speed of sound Jiansu goes for an attack attempt. The moment the tip of the sword nearly reached Kinhyuk, a fast projectile collided with the strike, shattering his sword apart. It was a piece of go, as Kinhyuk claims there just happened to be something good to throw. Putting his feet on the table, he offers Jiansu to start the talk for real.